Okay, now that I've got the blaze pretty well dialed in, I wanted to come out and play it a couple more times before I give you my conclusion on this EDF jet. But so far, I am pretty happy with it. All right, let's get it near launching. Huh, that was probably my worst launch yet. But the controls are so much smoother now. Whee! Now that's not moving through the air very fast at all, guys. You can cruise around with this at about 50% throttle with this unit. Nice. Pretty light wing loading. I definitely think this is going to be capable of carrying an 1800 milliamp hour 4S even at my altitude. And that's smooth. I mean, even with me on the controls, not bad, is it? I'm liking this a lot. Like I said, it's not a powerhouse, but it has a decent amount of power. I'd say it's on par probably with my other EDF jets as far as just raw power. Man, I am so happy that I bought this airframe and put the F86 components in it. That's just awesome. No comparison between these two jets. Isn't that sweet? That is a very docile, handling EDF jet. Okay. Let's check our directions. Look good in that direction. We gotta land in the direction of the sun again. All right, we look good that direction. All right, I'm gliding. I keep drifting, either one direction or the other. I don't know what's the matter with me today on landing. At least it's not hitting hard, but I keep sliding off the darn lane. I don't know why. But did you notice on the landing how much more I'm able to bring the nose up on it compared to the first outing with this EDF jet? I've got a lot more elevator dialed into it now than I had when I came out in the first flight session. I'm pretty happy with the amount of elevator I have in it now. And even though I moved the CG back quite a bit from where I had it, well, I say quite a bit, probably a couple millimeters back from where I started. I would say, I haven't measured it yet. I'll measure it when we get back to the hangar, but I would say I'm probably at 62 millimeters back now. When I came out in my first flight session, I was at 60. It seems to be maintaining its line very well at cruising speed, so I'm very happy with that. And I actually have some elevator in reserve now. So let's put another battery pack in it, and then I'll meet you back at the hangar and I'll give you my conclusion on this jet. See you in a minute. Okay, let's get this Zeta Ultra Z Blaze back in the air one more time. Hopefully it won't do any damage on landing, huh? Okay, man, I got very little wind out here for these two flights. It's awesome. I was actually able to get it trimmed out. All right, launching. That is an awesome looking airframe. Look at that, that's got a good roll rate to it even when I'm not pushing it. When I'm just cruising with it. Yeah, I am really happy with this. Not bad, huh? Need to put some wing tape on the bottom. I haven't done that yet. Oh, how I wish that Zeta Science was still around. That was a pretty tight turn there. I'm getting a little more comfortable with it. I think this is just my 8th flight so far with this jet, and this is just my 2nd flight since I got it tuned in, you know? Okay, we look good in that direction. Check our other direction here. Look good. I can't believe it. I think all 4 flights on this today. Gliding. Oh, that is so rough. But I kept it in the lane this time at least. It's like landing on a washboard. Let's make sure everything is good. Yeah. Yeah, my new skid shoes are holding up good. You know what those are? You know those real thin, they can't be thicker than a millimeter. Those real thin little cutting board mats, those plastic cutting board mats. I use that material for a lot of things because it's, you know, it's a cutting board, so it's tough as nails, and so I use those to repair those skid shoes with. I just added that as a new layer, and so far those are holding up really, really well. Okay, so I am really having fun with this jet now that I got it all lined out. It handles beautifully. I don't have any complaints. And you saw when I climbed vertical and the speed was really slow, when I pulled it over the top, it just floated right over the top. It didn't drop a wing or anything. It didn't attempt a flat spin. It just floated right through the top. Very well behaved, very docile EDF jet, the way it handles, and a very wide flight envelope. I'm surprised that I don't have any problems cruising around with this at 50 to 60% throttle. It just, you know, it handles it really, really well. All right, so I'll see you back at the hangar, and I will give you my conclusion on this jet, show you my Lipo location, all that information. So, see you back at the hangar.
All right, well, I had a blast with the 2 flights that I put on it out there today, and I think this is going to become my new favorite EDF jet. It's the easiest to launch, it's the easiest to land. I think it has a little better slow flight capability, you know, especially when I'm coming in for a landing. I mean, if you've watched flights of the other EDF jets that I have, I typically have to bring them in with quite a bit more speed than I'm bringing this one in. So it's an exceptional airframe. I wish Zeta Science was still around. I don't know how many of these airframes are left, but I'm glad I was able to pick one up. The links that I have in the show notes to this airframe, plus all the components, and I believe I include the shipping costs in that too for the people here in the US. I actually have a link to a better EDF unit than I have. The link that I have to the EDF unit is an FMS. It's a 64 millimeter EDF. It has an 11 blade fan instead of a 5 blade fan, and it has a 3150 kV motor instead of 4500. So it's going to have a lot more torque, and it is designed specifically for 4S. So with that EDF unit, I think you're going to have a lot more power than I have with the 64 millimeter 5 blade fan that I have in here with the 4500 kV motor. The motor is not going to be as torquey as that 3150 kV. I actually have one of those on order. It should arrive within the next week or two. And I think I'm so happy with this airframe. I think I'm gonna set that one back. And as soon as my budget allows, I'm gonna be pulling the trigger on the Zeta Ultra Z Astro, which is like it's a twin to this basically, or I guess a cousin to this. It uses the same fuselage. The only thing that's different is the wing design, and while this one has a swept wing, the Astro has a straight wing, and the wingspan is a little bit wider than this one. This one I think is a 790 millimeter wingspan, and the Astro has an 810 millimeter wingspan. So I think with the straighter wing, I think it will create even more lift, and I think it will have even better slow flight capability. And if it flies like this one, then I'll have another exceptional flying EDF jet with that one, assuming that they're still available by the time I can pull the trigger on it. But I'm going to set that 64 millimeter, that FMS 64 millimeter 11 blade EDF unit back specifically to put in that airframe when I can pull the trigger on it. But it's just awesome, guys. Now, as soon as I have it set up and flying exactly the way I want it to, I mean, it handles exceptionally well. The controls are very, very smooth. The rolls are extremely axial and quick. It has pretty adequate power, even with this 5-blade fan on this 64 millimeter EDF unit. Of course, I always want more power, and I think that FMS unit is going to give me that. And since it has a torquier motor, I'm betting that I'll get more thrust out of it, and I'm betting I'll get about the same amount of flight time I'm getting on this too. So I'm really happy with it all the way around. I'm going to fine tune it a little bit more, and as soon as I can get the reflex on the elevon set up mechanically instead of having it on the switch, and get everything set up and flying the way it is now, because I think I'm probably going to have to adjust it again. But as soon as I get everything set up and flying exactly the way I want it, after mechanically adjusting everything, then I will go ahead and create a setup file and publish my OpenTX model file. But it is an awesome airframe, and I think it looks exceptionally cool too. As soon as I get all that done, then I will go over all the details. One of the things that I did, that I spoke about during the build, I decided not to put a single carbon spar in the center of the bottom of the fuselage. But what I did was I took two, hopefully you can see it on camera, I took two 1 millimeter by 5 millimeter carbon slats, and I glued them on either side of the fuselage. Because on these EDF jets, as well as the sport gliders, the weak spot on the fuselage is the area underneath the canopy, because there's not enough foam there. So I highly recommend on any of these EDF jets or those sport gliders that you reinforce it, and I reinforced it all the way back to the widest part here of the airframe, and I glued those almost all the way to the front of that cavity to add support for that nose. And I really recommend that you do that to any of these EDF jets. I took a battery strap, cut it in half, and just glued it to the insides. I just wanted something that would secure the LiPo in the airframe so that it would not move when I was launching it. It wouldn't move while I was flying it, doing aerobatics with it, and it wouldn't move when I'm landing it. And that keeps the LiPo in it nice and snug, and it doesn't move. So just an exceptional airframe. You won't go wrong with it, especially if you put the EDF unit in it that I have a link to, the FMS unit. This won't have any problem, even at my altitude, being able to carry a 4S 1800 milliamp hour LiPo. As soon as I can pull the trigger on 3 or 4 of those, I'm going to be acquiring those, because I know this jet's going to be able to carry them just fine, and I'll be able to extend my flight time with that LiPo in it. So anyway, stay tuned for the details on the setup, the OpenTX model file. I will be publishing that on our Facebook page, guys. So anyway, awesome EDF jet, and I think it's going to become my new favorite. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the air.